And we are live. Hello everybody. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, I am a bit early, right? So, today we are doing some REST APIs, right? Let me double check Slack if there are any messages there. So let me open it. Okay. Hello, Torl. Hello, Daniel. So today we are going to create REST APIs similar to one that we've seen in JSON server, and we are going to we are going to create that REST API with Express.js. So let me show you what is Express.js. So I will send you in the chat. So Node framework has its own HTTP server built in the framework, right? So you can create without any additional packages or modules. You can create HTTP server, so REST API out of the box. The problem is it's really rudimentary, and there is a lot of problems with Node basic REST API building, or at least like hosting something like a server. There are some problems with that, and Express is actually the most popular web framework, and it's really minimalist. So it's really like bare bones, but it gives you like much better interface for building upon it than like node.js HTTP module. So okay, so you can build web application APIs. Mostly we are interested in APIs. So Express also can be used for building web applications. So you can like create HTML files ad hoc. So imagine somebody refreshes a page, logins as another user, and then a backend server sends him, hey, you're logging as David Abram, you're not logging anymore as John Smith. So you can build web applications, but we are not interested in that. We are interested in APIs. Today, like most of backend work is actually creating APIs and reading and storing data in a database using some language, in our case Node.js. So we are going to start with Express. So first what we need to do is open our project. If you haven't done that already, you can go to GitHub Lockdown Learning. Hello everybody, somebody join us. Somebody have just joined us. So you can download from CroCoder Lockdown Learning. You can clone or download it, or just download the zip, or just clone it with SSH. I advise you to use SSH. And there is hello Viera, and there is where is it? Oh, Express Node, a folder, and it's totally empty. It's empty for a reason, because I wanted to show you how to create your own Node.js project, how to start it, how to use package.json, how to install more packages. We already did that like bunch times before, but let's go once more, like just from scratch. So let's delete this. First, let's delete this git keep. And what we need to do is actually open the terminal. You can open the terminal inside your VS Code, like here, or you can use your regular terminal like this. But okay, let's go through the VS Code one. So we need to enter the Express Node folder, or you can like right click on Express Node folder and then open in terminal, and it will open. It's the same. First, what we need to do is actually press npm init, just call it. So it just asks you a few questions there. So how will your package name how will be what will be your package name? Let's say it like that. Okay, Express node, fine. Version 1.0.0. Description doesn't matter. Entry point, okay. Our entry point will be index.js. Our test command could be empty. Git repository, keywords, author. Just press enter to those all. So what will happen here? There will be created a package.json. And we can see that there is a name, Express node, version, empty description, main is index.js. Our test is not like working. If you call this, it will just say like no test specified and throw an error outside and license and so on and so on. That's quite important. Why? Because when we need to install some npm packages, the data about them, metadata should be stored in our package.json. So for first thing, let's install Express. So npm install save Express, and I will send you that command into the chat. So this will actually download Express package and put it in dependency here in package.json. There's also package log file that's auto-generated, and it's just auto-generated with some things for caching the modules and so on. So the problem now that what we can see out of the box is that we have 329 different files here in our source control. And that's just awful because we don't need like the node modules to be pushed to GitHub repository. Node modules can be downloaded with the npm install when you clone the repo here. So what we need to do is actually add git ignore. So in git ignore, you just write the folder you want to get ignored when pushing to the our remote repository. So press it node modules, and what will happen? We will have only 4 different changes. So I deleted git keep, I created package.json, it's automatically created package lock.json, and then our git ignore for ignoring node modules in there. So you should have like these 3 files in there and node modules folder. What we need to do next is actually create index.js, and we can try it like this, just saying cons log hello world for start. And when you want to call that JS file, you just go in node index.js, and it will say hello world. Let me try to how to configure task, run active file. I don't know how to increase the font inside of here. Probably somewhere in settings. So let's try features. No, terminal here. Terminal. And is there anything like font size or something like that? Integrate the font size here. Okay. So let's increase a little bit our font size here so you can read this better. So when I call node index.js, it actually says hello world. So what we can do is actually we can put this command inside our package.json, inside the scripts. So we can delete our test script and write down our start script. So start script that says node index.js. When we call npm start, it will actually call this node index.js command, and we will get back hello world. So when you have like a big command that you need to run like every time you change something or when you update something, you could easily just put that inside a script here. You will see like in a few minutes we will update this script, so it will work better, at least for our example here. So let's see what we can do in our index.js. Let's first get our Express server. So remember, in Node we are using require. We are not using import, at least for now. There are some changes coming in the new version of Node, but yeah, we'll see that in the future, how it will change Node experience. So we have Express in here. And how to use Express? Is there anything here? No, not really. Maybe we better go to documentation. So let's go to API reference. API reference is the documentation. So we need to require Express and then call like a function Express to get an app. Okay, that's perfectly fine. And after that, we have a lot of different things and methods that we can use. Okay, so we need to call it like this to create an app. So let's go const app equals Express. So after that, let's see here. Yeah, we have here a lot more different methods and properties here, and that's awesome. Okay, so let's see how to create some REST endpoints. So let's see what we have here. App.all, delete, blah, blah. Oh, app.get. How about that? So app.get. Okay, this get are we talking about? App.get, enter some path here and enter a callback. Okay, and it says routes HTTP GET request to be specified path with a specified callback function. So a path can be like a root path or something like that. It can be like regular expression. I'll explain it in a second what it is. And then we can have a callback, like a function that does some work and then returns something to the front end from where we called it. So we have an example here. Let's like copy paste this example from here. I will try to. This is this get right here. Let's try to copy this example and see what we'll get from it. So let's try to call it here. Oops, like this. So maybe a little bit like refactoring. We probably should use like lambda functions here. And when we call like app.get to this URL, we'll probably need to get like some, like this is like request, this is like response. So response sent to me like get request to homepage. Okay, but we haven't actually started the server yet. So our app has some configuration in it. So like a listener, like an on-click listener. Only in this example, we should actually call get to this location or to this path to get our callback. But we actually have started like our server. So maybe let's double check that also. There is something called listen. So let me see what's listen. So listen, it says a port. Okay, host callback, that's pretty good. Binds and list for connection on the specified host and port. Oh, look at this. So if I call like app.listen 3000, we will have our server on port 3000. Let's try that. Let's try to write after this app listen 3000. If we want to have like something like console log when our application or our server has started, we can actually write this down like hello, your server has started. So let's try to run this npm start. So it says like hello, your server has started, and if you can see here, it hasn't like stopped, it's still running. So let's go to our localhost 3000 and see what's there. Let's try it like that. So we actually have a get here, and we call get a fetch with get method, or we go to browser and go to localhost 3000 like a root to it, we should get request to homepage. We should get that written in our browser or fetched via fetch on our front end. So let's try to do that. Let's go to our browser and enter localhost 3000. And here it is. There is get request to homepage. Pretty cool, right? So actually, just with this piece of code, you have created your own like server and you started building your REST API. So that's cool. So let me just double check that everything is working. Okay, so let's also try to write here in our console log a fetch call to the localhost 3000 to see what's going on in here. So let's try fetch. It says like Pokemon, but we need to not call it Pokemon. We are calling actually localhost 3000. And after that, I just want to say response is response.txt. Then data just console log it. So what here will happen, we will call like fetch HTTP localhost 3000. As our response is just a string, we should call response.text and not JSON, because this is not JSON. And then we should just console log the data that we get. Let's try this. Have I done everything okay? Have I failed somewhere in writing this? Then data, maybe it's not working properly. Oh, okay. I made a mistake somewhere. Oh, here. I should just write console. So when I'm writing like this, I should just put console log in here and not the way that I wrote it. Okay. So if you can see here that actually that we are fetching this localhost 3000 and getting the data that we see here. So when we try to call a fetch get method, we can also try to do that inside of the browser. It's the same thing. So every time you go to some URL like google.com, you're actually calling a get method to the Google server. So okay, hello, your server has started, and we get here to homepage. So if we try to console log here anything, if you try to console log, we actually need to stop our server and start it again. And we call this localhost 3000. You will see that there is nothing console logged in our browser. That's why, because it's console logged actually in our terminal. So when you're doing something with Node.js, when you're console logging, actually every console log will get to our terminal and not in the browser, because the code, the JavaScript, is run in our terminal or on our PC. Just beware of that. Okay, then let's try something else. So if you can see here, it's really tedious for every time that we like change our code that we need to stop our service and then restart it. So we need to like press Ctrl+C and then call npm start. So Ctrl+C is like exiting from our like it's stopping our server in this example, and that is pretty boring and tedious and so on. So I have a better solution for you. So if you install a package called nodemon or nodemon or nodemon, however you want to call it, I've heard multiple people calling it differently. So this is like a way of running our node as a daemon. So daemon is actually some process in your PC that's like going infinitely. That's not stopping. Every time you like open your computer, it starts, and when you shut down your computer, actually then it stops. And if you try to stop it, the daemon will reappear again. So I'm not sure why it's called daemon, but hey. And we get in dev dependencies, we get nodemon. So we can change the node in our start script with nodemon. And what we get when we call npm start, actually, you can read here, it watches everything, watching JavaScript extensions and starting node index.js. So every time we change something in here, so hello, maybe change your to my and press save, what we'll do, actually we'll restart our server because there are some changes, And you can see here our console log now is hello, my server has started. So now we can forget about restarting every time we have some changes in here. So it's called nodemon or nodemon or nodemon, right? It's something like that. So okay, we get. So get is working pretty okay. So let's try, say, get like users. Let's say that we want to get all users here, and let's try to do res send, and then let's start some JSON. So imagine we are sending some data about our users. So we can do it like an array, and in this array we can say name is David and surname is Abram, something like that. Let me see what I have written wrong. I'm missing here a comma. Let's save it. So when we get to the /users route, we should get this data here. So let's try it like this. So /users. Here you go. Some JSON. We can see like from the data here or all that we are actually getting a JSON file. So as you can see here, we can actually get pretty cool stuff in here. So we can, when we call /users, we get some data here. So res send and then send an object. And it works okay. So we go back JSON from here. So that's pretty cool. So let's try to do something different. Let's try to, for example, let's get a name from our pet here and then print it inside of our object that we're returning. So without any problem, we can do something like this. So this way we can send some variables through our URL to the backend. So you just write like this, something like, let's say, user name or maybe username together like this, and then we say request response, and then we say something like res.send, and we put it name is David, surname is Abram, and then we should somehow get from here, from this username right here, we should get like this variable here. So this symbol here, it means this is a variable. This is not like this. This is something that changes in our URL. This is not something that should be like, our URL shouldn't be look like this. It should be look like /users/David Abram as my username, or Dev Abram as my username. So how to get this? Actually, it's really simple. We should get it from request, this object here, and just call it request params.username. And let's try it. So let's try it like users /dev Abram. You can see here we got some response with username Dave Abram. So you can see here that we actually, what we did, we entered the Dave Abram as our username, as a variable that's saved in request.params. So when we call request.params.username, we are actually getting the value that we inserted here. And we could have like multiple variables inside of here. So we can also put it like, I don't know, like favorite color, and then we can say like color equals request.params.fav color. And when we call like something like this and we put red, it says name is David, surname is Abram, username dev Abram, and color is red. So if you try to delete this, we will actually cannot get user dev Abram because we haven't entered our favorite color. Because you can see here that we needed to insert our username and favorite color in this example. This is pretty useful because if we want to send an ID here, we can actually get like a whole list of users here, and when they say slash and some ID, similar to JSON server example, we can like query our database or some collection of data that we have just with this ID and get back and send back to the front end the ID that we needed. That's why I am returning here an array, and here I'm returning just one object. So we could have multiple users when we call users, but when we call like something like ID here, we are actually we want to return just one user from our backend. So let's say something like this. So in this example, we try 1, and we are getting like something with ID 1, name is David, and surname is Abram. We saw this in JSON server, and it was pretty useful. And this is like just a great way of building our REST API. We will talk in the future about more how to design REST APIs, what's interesting in them, and so on. We will need some knowledge of databases, though, to get to that level and understand what's going on. This is more how to write REST APIs with node.js and just how to return data and how to do stuff with it. So another thing that we can do is actually get an URL that it's how to explain best. An URL that's like catch-all URL. So let's say that we have like get users URL or get, I don't know, people or get something, or at least for a for page, like we haven't found that page in there. We can actually really easily implement that in our Express example. So let's say that we want to get any page that's not defined here and return something there is no page here. So that's pretty easy because all that we need to do is just say it like this with this star-like symbol. That means any string, any character of any length or like anything can go. And what we can do here is, again, we need to put request and response here and write down rest.send, nothing here. So if we try to go to our root, it works get request to homepage. If we try /users, everything works. But if you go like /pets, it will say nothing here. So any other thing that randomly that we can write down is like nothing here. So if you try to go to some like, let's try to google.com and say like JavaScript, it actually will say Google, that's an error. The requested URL JavaScript was not found in this server. That's all we know. That's actually, this is the way you can program that. So if you enter any URL that's not defined in our file, we return some error message. So like here, it's you just write it like on the end of your file, just before of listening. So if you get URL like root URL, it's fine. If you get users and something users, it's fine. If you get users and some ID, that's fine. But for everybody else, it will return like nothing here. So we can also combine that with some like, I don't know, like app get, and everything that starts with get, we can actually print this. So console log, this starts with get. So you can try this in browser. So if you try to enter like get users, it will no, it say nothing here. What's the problem? Get users. Have I done something wrong here? Oh, I forgot the slash. So there should be a slash on the beginning of every our path. So that's why. Okay, so oh, I said console log. That's the problem. I'm just like writing this too fast and not giving it much consideration. So it should say here rest send because we want an like a return. So if you get ABC, it will say the same thing. If you say get users, it will say the same thing. If we want to get the URL that this is sent, we actually can do it really easily, like here, and we can say this is, and then we can call the request.url. And you can see here, this starts with, let's refresh, this is get users, this is get ABC. You can get the everything from request URL, like the whole path name except the like host here. So this you can get with request.url. You can also like get and is called by, we can say request.method. It should say like and is called by get. So we use the get method, the HTTP method, and we get like this data from here. So this sentence here. So if we want to put like if we want to for this endpoint to, so we if you want to send like a post or delete or like any other HTTP verb, we can actually like remove this get and write here all. So if we send get, if we send post or delete or patch, it will actually go and call this callback. So we can test this out. So in this example, we are calling by get, but we can go back to our code here and change it a little bit. So we can say here that our method is post. Localhost, oh, it's not localhost 3000, but it's localhost 3000 / get ABC. As you can see here, we actually got some response here, and it says this is get ABC and is called by post. If you change the post here into delete, it will actually say this is /get ABC and is called by delete. So this is a pretty pretty okay way of getting our methods, getting our URL, so we can see what's going on in there. And also we can get params if we put it here inside of our path here. So remember, you need to write it like this, and this string here becomes the name of our variables inside params. So that's all cool and dandy and super. One thing is, like, I don't know how to get it, or I don't know by heart how to get it from search parameters or query parameters. So let's go back to our Express reference and see it. So what we have here is, let's go to request, and you can see here that we have some like body. We'll use that in the future. There is a method, we use that for, we can get post and get or whatever method is called by. Then request params, we use that. Request path, okay, let's see what's else. Request query. Look at this. You can use the request query object to get the data that we used in the query. So let's try that. Let's actually try that in our let's say our user's ID. So we can just say here query equals request.query. So let's try to call that. So users, like 1, you can see here the query is empty. But if we say here like date is 12th of May 2020, actually you can see here date is some value. So in this way, we can actually get our search parameters or our query parameters without any problem. And we can always say it like this. So access the value of our query parameters like this. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty awesome. So the one thing that I said that I've seen like in documentation, and I haven't seen it here, is actually the body part. So when we post some data, we actually can send some data in our body, and then we can do with this data from front. We should send it from front end to backend, and on backend we can do something with the data. So let's try to create a post endpoint. So let's say maybe users. So difference from here is if you call get to users, we will get this response, and if you get post from users, we will get the response that we are writing right now. So we can go like this, and then say here res send from request.body. So we want our response to just give us back our request body. So let's try to do that. So with this here that we've written before, we can actually update this with users, this post, and let's say we have like nobody in here. So it will return actually an empty string. So that's working pretty okay. For our body, actually we need to write right in here or in here. Let's double check that in documentation. So every time we don't know something, we are trying to see the documentation file. Let's go to the fetch. This is like fetch directive. This is not what we were looking for. Fetch API. That's what we're looking for. Using fetch. Let's see inside of the brackets. So inside of brackets, we should put body with JSON stringify. That's perfectly fine. So inside of these brackets, we just say body is JSON stringify. And then we put some object in there. Let's say a equals 3. Where did I miss this? Here. Okay. Okay, let's read this. Okay, we needed to put another one. Okay. There is no data. I've written something maybe wrong. Let's double check that. Let's try to console log request body here and see what's going on in here. So we call this and we get promise pending. And let's double check our terminal that we are working with. And it says actually request body undefined. So this is the first issue that we get in our Express. So the problem with Express is that it can send JSON without any problem, but when receiving JSON, there is sometimes some issues with it. So what we need to do for it to work perfectly fine, we actually need to install another package that's made by guys who made Express, and it's called actually body parser. So I actually install whenever I use Express, I'm installing body parser. And body parser is actually just, okay, what types of data you can send from frontend to backend for your REST API to read it without problems. So you should probably limit these types of data that you can send to the backend. In this example, we will be using JSON mostly. So include this in your file here. you actually need to require your body parser. So something like this. And after that, you need to say app use body parser.json. And we should probably call it like this. Let me double check it because I don't know by heart. Yeah, we should call it like this. So this should be your starting part of your app. So we can start this and let's try to call our fetch here. Again, we got the empty string. Oh man. You can see that it's returning a JSON, but there is still some problem here. And it's like empty. What's the problem with this? Shouldn't we get? So I have some problem here, and I don't know what is the problem it is. Let's try to see here if we did everything okay. So, oh, right. I always forget this part. So if you remember from my API part, we should actually put in headers that we are sending JSON. So we need to add this inside of our API call. I have totally forgotten this. So let me get it to this code. This is a thing that I often forget, and every time I'm like surprised, how can I forget this? This is so like basic stuff. But yeah, you should put like headers in here, and inside those headers you should put nope. You should put actually the string that we got from here. I will paste this in chat so you can double check it. So inside of our headers, we need to put content type like this, right? Yeah, so it's an object. This is the right way of writing this fetch call. So I forget to put the content type part, and if we call it, yeah, we are getting the results back in a JSON like way. So if we change the part of A3, we also add B equals 5, we will get A equals 3, B equals 5. So with this data here, actually we can go back to code and like do something with our data that we're getting here, like request body console log request body A or request body B. We can actually maybe transform it to a number and then multiply it. Maybe some operation like this, I don't know. So let's try to call NB. You can see here that it says 15. So you can do anything that we tried and done in JavaScript inside of this like function here. So you are just creating an API that does something like calculates the number and then maybe returns it. So maybe we can just return our number here and write it like number equals and then something like this. So now when you call this, we will actually got number is 15. So when you send A and B, we actually multiply those two numbers and we get some result in there. So the same way you will like get, you can get like to your database and use A as an ID of our users and get back from that database. So that's the way the JSON server that we used creates our data, but actually just stores it in a file. So it has no databases behind it. So that's pretty awesome. If there is any question, you can just hit me without any problem in here. So, okay, we tried using body parser JSON. We know the all, the post. So there is like also, don't forget about app delete. So when we call delete with delete method, it's called like here. Or we can use also app patch, if you can see here, and it works the same way. Or you can use like all to get every different method call to your backend. So that's pretty straightforward. So this piece of code is like a basic Node.js Express app. So let's see like what are we missing here. Are we missing something? Like there is a lot of things in Express, like let's say the pet part. So we can actually, no, this is the route. Actually, I need to go here and try to get, right? There is pet examples. Okay, so here, I will send it to you. So if we want to use, let's say, if you want to like add only like one different, so in this example, like C question mark, it means that ABCD and ABD are also like available paths in this example. And if we call ABCD or ABD, we are actually calling this function here. There is also like a plus, that means that we call it like A, B, 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 B into infinity, C, D. There's different things that we can write here. This way of writing it is actually called regex calls, like this just regex. If you Google it, you can see here it's called regular expression or regex. I wouldn't like advise you at this moment to use regex because it's confusing a lot. And you can see here there's different things that can be used. But we went through like most of interesting things that we can see here in requests. So there is nothing like more interesting about this. There's some things like cookies and so on, but we will use that in the future. But yeah, I'm totally open to questions in this example. Or we can go, I don't know, to see how a file is uploaded to the server. That could be a great that could be a great example for me to do it right now. So there is a way for us to send a file to our backend and then to be uploaded somewhere to somewhere inside of our folder here. So that could be pretty cool. Should I go? Is there any question, or should I go like a little bit more deeper inside this? I'm waiting for your input. But yeah, so we will do a lot of, so this Node.js REST API, creating REST API with Node.js or Express.js in this example, it's like a cookie cutter stuff. Then we will create like multiple backends and REST APIs in the future. And like, I don't know, like 90% of backend development is actually creating these REST APIs. I will just say if. Okay. You can just, if there is any question, just ask me right now and I will go back to it. So what we can do actually is we can actually host some files. So for example, if you have seen like you probably used Instagram, so probably everybody here is using Instagram, or at least like seen Instagram and how it works. So you can upload your picture on Instagram without any problem through your web app or through your mobile application. So how can you do that in like with Node.js? So it's pretty simple. So let's start from the beginning. Have I been frozen? Oh, okay, it's working now. I have some problems with the internet today, so I've seen myself frozen every every second inside of the YouTube studio. So okay, what we can do first is actually just host an image. So let's try to do that. So there is something called static. Let me see here. Application use, and after that, like express static. Okay, it's here. Okay, express static. So what you can do actually, it's much easier for me to show you, is create a folder inside of Express node. Like most of the time, it's called just public, and then use app.use like this, and then call express.static, and then say public. So what it does is it uses this folder and everything that's in this folder. So we can write like text.txt, and inside hello, it actually hosts on our local server the public folder. So everything that's inside of a folder, it will be served for us to download, to see in our browser, or yeah, something like that. So if you go back to our localhost 3000 and we go to how it's called text.txt, we actually get the content of our txt file here. So if I say hello ABC, save, it's hello ABC. Or let's use some image. So let's download some image. Let's say cat. We go to the cat image. We can, I don't know, let's see this one. We can save this image to our, let's say, downloads or desktop. I have some random pictures here also, and save it here. We can then go back to our VS Code, open containing folders here, go to our desktop. Oh, I have some trash here. Great. And put it in our public folder. So I have a picture of a cat here in our public folder. And when we go back to our localhost 3000 and say here cat.jpg, it actually, we get the image of cat. So we are actually hosting files. We can put like different things here. So we can put like, I don't know, like text files, maybe even PDFs. So let's try to get the PDF here. So we go here and go to Google PDF. Is there any PDF for like, or example PDF file? Simple PDF file from Africa University. Pretty cool. Let's download this, but we will download this inside of our repos, inside of Lockdown Learning, inside our, where is our Express node, public, and save it here. So if you go now to localhost 3000 and go to sample.pdf, we are actually getting our sample PDF downloaded from Africa University. So that's cool. So anything that we put here in our public folder, it will actually be served to our end user that's using. We can also put here like something like form HTML and then enter the HTML in here. So it has a head and with the title, form, and then we can have body. Instead of body, we can say hello. So if you write this and we go to our here and to our form HTML, we actually get an HTML file with the title, form, and everything. So we can serve static HTML files without any problems like this. So that's pretty important because we will be using form for uploading pictures to our backend. So let's go back to our index.js script. So this way we can serve static files. But okay, we can always like put some, let's say we can update picture in here. So just let me double check if I'm talking it, if I'm calling it right. Okay, yeah. So for uploading pictures to the server, there is npm package that's called malter. It's here, okay. And this malter, what it does is actually it can create, so it's just easier for us to upload files. So when you upload file to a server, there's a lot of problems about how to send the picture because it should be binary. Then we should detect where should that picture be stored and so on and so on. It's just a bunch of different problems. But what you can see here, you can just create a form like this and then have an endpoint here for uploading the pictures. So let's try and write it up. So first thing first, we need to install the malter. So npm install malter. Let's double check the package.json. Yep, here is the malter package. So we can then, after that, we can start our server back. And we can go back to our index.js. So here we can write down const malter, right? It's called malter. And say require malter. Then what we can define here is actually inside of our use part. So every time we need to use a new module or something, it's actually, we just pass it to app use stuff. And we say like malter. And inside of here, we say destination of our new files that we are uploading will be to public. Like this, right? Or like this. Yeah, I'm not sure. But like, let's put it like this. We'll check it later, what's going on in here. So we have an form HTML here, and we want to send to some endpoint here a file that we want to load. So from here to the endpoint. So what you need to do here is actually define a post. So if you have a body, a picture that we want to send, we need to send it with post for creating. Remember the REST API verbs. Post is for creating new like entities or files or something like that. So let's call it upload. After that, it's the same thing as any other endpoint that gets JSON. The only difference here is actually that we will get something that's called, we can write it here, request files. So, and send, let's send back empty. So when we call this and we try it with some file that we want to upload here, we will actually get everything inside of this request.files property. So for uploading files to the backend, we can use really easy, like we just need to create a form. So we haven't created the form before, and it's pretty easy and self-explanatory. So let me show you how it does. So we create a form with two input in here. So one of these input will be our input where we like upload our like a picture chooser or file chooser, that when we click on here we choose some file on our PC. And the other one will be our button that will actually, when we click it, it will submit the data to the backend. So in here we should write it just type is file, and in here we should just say type is submit. remember this by heart. This is not like that hard to remember. So value here will be here upload, and here will be, I don't know, we should actually just say name is file or name is image, maybe better. And we can define like default size or something like that, but it's not really like important. We can say like size is 50 to limit it to 50 megabytes. If I know by heart, I'm not sure. But what we can do here is, so in form, what we need to do here is actually, we should write the endpoint that will be calling when we press the submit button here. So if we first, let's double check here. It's not working. Why is it not working? Have we stopped our server? Oh, it does some problems here. App use need, let me double check this. What have I written here? App use Malter, dump public. Why is this not working? This should be working like this. So let's try to. App use requires middleware. I have some error here, and I'm sure what's the problem here? Let's try to go to the Malter documentation. What have I done wrongly here? So var Malter is, and then post. Oh, okay. I had the red documentation right. It should be like this. So our Malter should be defined like this. So sorry everybody, I was too busy like doing random stuff than reading documentation. That's like the first mistake. Always read whatever it writes there. So okay, let's go back to our documentation. Yeah, okay, so here is the problem that I haven't written this properly. So what we need to do is do something like this, and not avatar that image. So what this says is actually from our form, we are requiring that there is something called image in there, and that we are uploading a single file there. So we need to write it like this. So back to our form, you can see name is image. And when we go to our now here, have we tried to? Malter is not defined. I'm doing like a really poor example of how am I deleting random stuff that I shouldn't be deleting. So we still need to require the Malter. Yeah, now it's working. Fine. Thank you, code. Okay, we have a file chooser like this, and then a button for uploading that in there. So let me try and see what's going on in here. So okay, so via this form we should actually just enter here like where do we want it to call, what endpoint we should call when submitting this form. So we should, in action part, it's a little bit strange. It's called action. That was like a Microsoft thing. So they called it like this, and it was stuck in JavaScript. So we should call HTTP localhost 3000 upload. That's the endpoint that we wanted to call, and we wanted to call it by using post method. So something like this. So let's actually try this before continuing working on it. Let's try to refresh this. Let's remove this query. And then let's choose image, let's say my image, and then try hit upload. Okay, what we got here is actually undefined. Why is undefined this? upload single image. Let me double check the here. Request file is the avatar file. Request.file, not files. See, I'm making a lot of mistakes today because I'm not reading documentation. So I have David PNG again. It's the picture here. And I press upload. And now you should see here that it actually said undefined again. This is not my day. So let's read what's the problem here. Request body will hold the text files if there are any. Request file is the avatar file because we put here upload.single.avatar. And our request.file is empty. Why is empty? You see, this is exciting. I will debug something live and not just a simple mistake, but something that I understand what's the problem that I created here. So this is a post that we called, and we actually put image David PNG. You can see here, it's called image. And we are calling here upload single image, and request file is undefined. Really, really strange. So what we have, why have this happen, is the avatar file text file, single avatar. Request body will hold the text fields. Why this happened? This is really, really strange. I'm missing something, but I don't know by heart what I'm missing here. Maybe I should leave this for the next time and I will see what's the error here, because here we should also get request body. So when we try to call not the upload, but we call like this, we pick this image and put upload here, we should actually get back. No, we are getting undefined and a body. Okay. It doesn't matter. This is a good start of but this is a good start that I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. If somebody has any if somebody has read the documentation of something, this should be actually quite easy to do, and I'm missing something and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here. In our form, there is input with name image, right? And they have in Malter, they have the same thing, right? File, input type, file, avatar. Enc type, oh man. I haven't read documentation. Again, don't forget the enc type multipurpose form data in your form. God damn it. So what we need to add here more is the type of data that we are sending to our form, because the multi-part form data means that we can send music, big files, images, and so on. Oh man. Yes, and now it's working. Okay, so this is the frustration and a release after that we are getting every time. You can see here there we got something saved here in the public folder, some random hash, because it didn't know where to put that. So the file name is something random, and if we get this something random and we call it in localhost 3000 and then this, yeah, okay, it will download my image, right? Okay. Okay. Ah, man. So that's a thing like this. We should probably change our file name to not be the like random string here, but we actually need to find in this documentation where is like how will be our a file called. So what we can do here is actually define how to call my file through calling something like this. So, oh man, the mistakes that I make every day. So what we can do actually is create something like this. This is all copied from this is all just copied from the documentation. It's not really like I will like change a little bit, but it's really easy to use. So here I should return the public part and something like this. Let me remove this because it's required 2 times. And here I can define, I can like create a new name. So like file name plus field name plus date now, or called something. Yeah, hooray! Thank you, Vera, for the applause of me like staggering around and trying to fix this. Let me double check this. If it's working, I'll. Okay, here it is. Image and a random call. So if we call localhost with this in here, we will actually download my picture. So we can also like see in here in this call, we can actually console log the file, and we can actually see what the type is or what's the original name. So what we can actually do here is actually write file.original name. So when we upload the file from this, we'll actually keep our original name. You will see here there is david2.png. So let's go back to our code and see what's going on in here. So let's first remove this console log. And we could say uploaded. So we required the malter file. Then we created the malter like endpoint for disk storage because we are saving it to the disk in this public folder here. For destination, we defined it that hello, this will be actually a public folder, and for file name, we will keep the original name. Then we have a function that's called upload here, and we can call it in app.post upload. We actually just put it in between like our path and our callback. So remember, callback is probably always the last thing that we're calling, and the first is path. So in between here, we can actually put multiple different functions. They are called middlewares, and I will explain it, or I'll explain it some later time. It's not really this time for explaining how it works properly. But what we'll actually do when we call the upload with post, it will upload a single image and then respond with uploaded. So let me double check that if it's working. I choose a file like here, then press upload. It will say, okay, it's uploaded. You can see here, there it's sent back here. And we have, again, in a public image of P. So actually I can delete like different files that I tried, and I actually can push this to our, so updated during the lecture. So everybody can see this thing. So the thing that I'm talking about like every time is you need to read documentation, and the first thing I've done is not read the rest of the documentation. Oh man. So the problem is like I knew by heart how to do that, like maybe some like older version or something, Like, I'm not sure, but like this is like pretty straightforward of using it. But I need to read documentation and not ignore it. So do as I say, not as I do. I don't know. Yeah, I get like all developers, I get pretty lazy about reading documentation, and that's just totally wrong. So yeah, so we actually know how to upload files in here. So this is a little bit about APIs and how to create them and how to do. We will go like deeper in REST APIs, just so you can see how to like define like what post does, what patch does, what get does, and how to program in here and how to do that in like next or on Saturday maybe better lecture. This is just more how it works and how we can also upload files, even I suck at it really bad. So this is really great tool to have, so you can know how to upload files. On Saturday, I would really want to create a simple like application, just just a crude operation for something that can actually be a good thing that you can show people or show maybe future employers that um, um, when you want to try to get a software dev job, maybe something easier that you can like build more or like refactor a bit more and get like a great application from it. So let's say a CRUD operation through a table, and then just show that visualization of the data. Maybe in the future we will add a cool graph in there. How about that? So, any questions? So, and yeah, if you want to say I don't read the documentation, yeah, please say that, because I need a reality check from everybody that I'm just like not reading it thoroughly enough. Oh man. So this is pretty easy. This shouldn't be a problem for you. This is like straightforward. You just need to learn how to like call REST send and how to like get from our URL something like from URL or from body or from somewhere, get some data and then do something with that. In here you can do anything you wanted to do. You could do anything like what you did with JavaScript, like you can map, filter, arrays, you can append some strings in here, like whatever you want. You can also, like, as this is a function, you can define this here, like get func equals to request API. You can define it here, and then just call get func. This is much more readable. Also, you can put this in other file. So Viera asked me, which color theme are you using? So I'm using, let me show you. I'm using Dracula. So I prefer Dracula than Dracula soft. So for Dracula, you actually can install it really easily to Dracula official add-on from the VS Code. So just search Dracula here. Take this, like this, install it, and then go press F1 and type in color theme, and you can change here the color theme. You get the Dracula and Dracula soft. I prefer the Dracula one. Yeah. So, and also I'm using, let me, Fira, also I'm using this font, so called Fira code. I sent you wrong. Just a second. It's called Fira code. Here, this is wrong. Let me remove that. Yeah. So this Fira code is the font that I'm using with ligatures. So it has these beautiful arrows and not the sucky ones that look like this. For me, it's just easier to read. Also, these crazy colors of my brackets is like something else, like bracket pair colorizer. Yeah. So yeah, I really like colorful stuff when I'm writing code because I can see like much easier what's happening here. So if I can see like this is a yellow bracket, and I can differ it from something other. This is a blue bracket, and that means that blue bracket is inside of a purple bracket. So there's like 3 different layers of bracket colors, I think, like blue, yellow, and purple, and I can see it much easier than when I don't have them. So that's about it. Like I have like a lot different add-ons, and mostly they are like for some languages like Rust or Golang or Elm. For some reason I have that, but those 3 are just for visual changes in my browser. So yeah, guys, if there is not any more question, I will be off. Next time we will do a little bit more of JavaScript programming about classes and so on, and how to create classes and then how to initialize classes. And then I could put a little bit of REST API theory, just so you know like how to create a great REST API and how like programmers expect to have a REST API. And JSON Server is a great example because JSON Server has a great API built there. So if you want to see an example again of a great thing built, let me show you. So this API that JSON Server gives is just perfect. Like not every project can have perfect API because there is always like let's say codependency between data collections. So let's say that you have user data collection and pets data collections, and pets data collection have what user like owns them. So the problem here is that that's interconnected, and you'll need to, let's example, when you're calling a user, you need to specify get me a data of its first pet or second pet or something like that. And the API will get overly complicated if you want to go like deeper and deeper. So let's say those pets have favorite food, and then you need to call person, then pet, then favorite food, and so on and so on. So if there is not any more questions, I will be off. On Thursday, we will go a little bit deeper, and we will talk about a bit more computer science stuff. I will probably I got my better camera and lighting, so I will probably go and create quicker videos about the computer science stuff, because it's computer science stuff. It's not really interactive. You cannot really ask me questions about it while I'm lecturing because like everything is totally new. I haven't like messed something up like this Malter thing. So probably will be better in shorter, more condensed versions. So guys, see you then on Thursday. If there's any questions, ask me in Slack, and please like this video because it seems that that's helping for search algorithms in YouTube. Thank you really much. So see you next time.